Hello, the fellow club members. Following the last session, um, I'm going to presume you need more time to work on the logistic to get the download, which basically I just provided a link to a free copy of PDF file of that book, Daoism. I presume you need a little more time to, get through and get yourself ready. And all you need is to read the first, line of the book. The book, if the one first page, first paragraph, whatever. Excuse me. That's simply just the first six Chinese characters. However, the translation turned out. I've read quite a few different versions. Personally, I don't believe I like any of them. So I will have my own translation from every character. It's not about the reading per se. The traditional Chinese way of teaching is more. They have this saying in Chinese, the master will get you into the door, but it's up to you to figure it out, right? That's how they say it in Chinese. Say, 师傅领进门，修行在个人. That's exactly what it means. So, I guess this is a book club that would actually encourage all the club members to basically watch the video and try to make sense on their own, because this is not going to be like a spoon feeding kind of thing, because you have your own different life experience and you were brought up a certain way. So not everything is said here and now would immediately make sense to you right away. I don't expect that. In fact, even if you're Chinese speaking and Chinese literate, I still don't expect you to understand, because a lot of Chinese in China today, they were not exposed sufficiently with this, core Chinese value. That's why I call myself Chinaman, because I want to differentiate myself. And talking, about this, it's kind of funny. Back then, when people invented the word Chinaman, these were the younger intellectuals who just began to get themselves exposed to the Western school of knowledge, like a science or arts, and they were totally dismissive about the traditional Chinese value. Whereas, as funny as it was, the Manchurian Empire was actually representing the traditional value of the old school Chinese civilization. So this was basically started by the young Chinese intellectuals back then, came out of the traditional China territorial, and culturally. And they were the one promoting westernization and modernization. And then they call themselves Chinaman. Today, I regarded myself as a Chinaman because just the opposite. I want to rediscover the value that was represented in old China. But again, this is not about China in the, DNA sense. No, it's not. Just like Bruce Lee, he promoted Chinese Kung Fu, and all over the world, everybody accepted. And the old Chinese back then were really upset because Bruce Lee did something just totally, against the old belief of the traditional Chinese, because that was supposed to be for Chinese, not for the non-Chinese. But hey, Kung Fu was widely accepted by, the people outside China, right? And so, by the same token, I don't believe there's, core value that is already abandoned, disconnected at the place where it came from. I don't believe it's, just exclusively belong to certain people. I think it's the, a great heritage, cultural heritage that actually help people to live, happier. So that's why I'm in this. Okay. So, and that's why I call myself Chinaman. And legally, I am not a citizen of the People's Republic of China. Okay. Let me just get it out there and get it clear. So, why did I, in the last session, talk so much about the difference between the different countries culturally in Asia? I was not into the history or comparative history. No. The point is, I was trying to get on the differences between the different countries. They're all in Asia, and even among all the Buddhist countries, the behavior, the lifestyle are so different. So what drives the difference here, right? So on YouTube, you can find there is a scholar talk on the TED show in which she actually talked about the linguistic language impact on the native speaking people of that linguistic language. And she cited the difference between English speaking, German speaking, Italian speaking. And she even said, with the word moon and sun, in German, it carried the context like this is more feminine, whereas in Italian, it's just the opposite, right? So when the linguistic language gives you that much impact, think about all these philosophical differences, right? So that it really does explain the behavior. So do we see the similarities between the Korean, Japanese, Vietnamese, Chinese? When you put all these four together versus the other nations in Asia, yes, you see the similarities between the four. But if you compare between these four, they're actually very different, right? Where would that difference be? When it comes to the religion, basically, as long as they're still holding on to the Buddhism, mixed, blended with Confucianism, that part, a lot is the same. But there are also many differences. For instance, we just mentioned the Buddhism, went to Japan, took a spin, differently, and came out with Bushido. And of course, Japan was ruled by the shogunate for over 200 years. So that stayed in the culture. So the Japanese are very disciplinary, and they are they're well-disciplined people. Let's just put it that way. And of course, they're naturally cut out for military, army, soldier, whatever. And you look at the Germans, same way. The Prussia, right? They had the army before they had the state. That's that, right? So back to my original point, this Daoism is actually essentially a very good example set to represent Daoism. So it's not about Buddhism. It's not about the, Confucianism. It's totally different. And if this Daoism actually went to somewhere and took root, it will definitely show the difference, show the impact. So throughout the Chinese history, you look back 3,000 years or whatever, 2,000 years or 1,000 years, so basically before the Daoism came in shape and form as a Daoism, theory, of course there was this culture, environment to produce that, right? So eventually it became, officially a school of philosophies. So while the old Chinese system, the oldest university first established in Europe or in the West was in Italy, Bologna. I don't speak Spanish. I mean Italian, but I'm just trying to pronounce that. That's the place of Italy, and that's the university, which still exists today. I actually have a young friend actually study there. So that's the first European university. So it basically just like the European arts and other things, everything basically evolved around church and monarchs, or But in this case, the first university in Italy or in Europe, it was started, by the clergies. The teaching people were basically either from the church directly or hired by the church, basically to promote certain knowledge that the church saw fit. What about China? It went back all the way to 3,000 years or so. And, it was private school. Basically, they were teaching different things. But up until about a little over 1,000 years ago, it became standardized across the nation. All the private schools, they were teaching basically Confucianism. Why? Because the emperor saw the fit of this, basically put the whole society in order, and then, the specific etiquette protocols, there's a lot of them. This is why back then, people who did not have social rank, that's why in English you say commoners, but in Chinese you say the plain cloth. Why? It has to be cotton. If you were wearing silk and get caught without the official title, certain rank, you got your head chopped off. If you were caught wearing something, let's say, in yellow, they will cut your head off because that's the color exclusively reserved for the royal families. So basically, you have to wear your clothes in certain material, in certain color. That's, as basically very particular when it comes to the protocols, okay, enforced by the criminal code. And by the same token, you say, oh, I have the money, I want to build a big house. I'm sorry. How big is your house? The size cannot be any bigger than the government officials, because if you do, you go to jail. Okay? They may or may not cut your head off, but hey, it's not going to be a happy ending there. So back then, everybody knew their place, right? This is about a Confucianism. But then, yes, what would Confucianism do, for your life? Because if you look at the life today, right? We're in America. When you look at the different races, this is not about racist or sexist or whatever that you want to label me, but you look at the white, black, Latin, and then you look at Asian, and I'm only talking about East Asian, namely Vietnamese, Korean, Japanese, Chinese. Even though, let's say, the parents, the grandparents, they never went to school. I'm talking about the formal high education. But they want their children, their grandchildren, all have the best, education that they could afford. And they basically sacrifice their life for it. Do you see that among the non-East Asian household? Not really. So what do you think that is? Personally, I believe that's Confucianism still at work. But then everybody just think, oh, all they have is this, kick-ass kind of upbringing. That's East Asian. Well, that's not entirely true, because beside the Confucianism, there's a Daoism. That's what we're talking about in this club today, tomorrow, and so many days to come. So what is the Confucianism? We'll talk about that later. Let's talk about the Daoism. Daoism is basically this is my understanding, okay? You're more than welcome to find a different definition and different meaning to you, based on your life. But this is basically the traditional way of Chinese study, okay? So nobody is the perfect authority, knows everything, get every answers. This is just my version. Daoism, in my opinion, in essence, is all about, you look at the universe, you look at Mother Nature, and then you think, me as a little human being came to this world, without my decision, oh, I'm going to Earth to be a human being. That wasn't your decision, but you came. And then the day you go. Normally, it's not your, free will too. Hey, there was a call and you went. So in between all this, your existence, shared existence, you're kind of a drifter just passing through your life, the entire lifespan, right? So with your little lifespan, I don't care you live to be like 200-year old, but hey, you look at the universe, I don't know, millions, 10 millions, whatever, right? So compared to that, what do you think, how significant do you think you are? Not really. So when you're a Taoist, or somehow perceivably, I think a good Taoist, do you really, really think your whole meaning of your life is all about, oh, my achievement, I am going to be the CEO of the biggest company in the world, or I am going to be the president of this United States. Okay, O'Donnell is there, right? And before him, there was, Bill Clinton, George W. Bush, a whole bunch. If you're in this business trying to save specifically certain people or even the whole universe, great. But if you're in this to leave some mark behind you, only for the name, not for the solid work and the result, well, you're going to be disappointed. Because if you're a good Taoist, you do ask yourself, yes, I do want to probably give some try on some certain things, but hey, do I want to miss the point of my whole life? What's wrong with just by, going out there, enjoy the blue sky, the green grass, and hey, if I even could afford a cup of tea or coffee, what's wrong with that, right? Of course, if you're a good Confucianist, the first thing is your duty, right? Oh, your duty to your family, your duty to your royal king, or today, whatever, I don't believe in America, we believe we have duty to the government, but the government does have a duty to us, right? But if you're in a communist country, well, just the other way around, supposedly, by constitution of that country. So anyway, now the point. What is a good life? Okay, everybody has different definition. Okay, my good life is if I could have a bigger house or a bigger car, or have a this and that, all that material things. But if you're a Taoist, okay, there's what you need and there's what you want. What do you think you want? You always want what you don't have. So you always want something because you always find something that's not accessible to you. That could be money, that could be power, that could be just about anything. So if you have this Taoism in the back of your mind that kicks in from time to time, work actually against the Confucianism, all that ambition. So when you get tired from the career, you have this corporate politics struggle, or you have whatever problem, you come back, right? You have a cup of tea, enjoy the lonely corner there of some long time, and maybe, just a maybe, that's where the Taoism could help you, just to enjoy whatever you have. I believe a good Taoist, you do not need to complain about anything and everything. You make absolutely the best out of whatever situation. Look at whatever available resource to you. And hey, do what you can do. But in the meantime, enjoy the life as the way it is. Okay? There's things you can do, and there's things basically beyond you. Whoever's up there decides, what can be done for you. Or if to do anything at all. So this is why I'm saying by studying this, you should find yourself on the path to discover the happiness, right? We haven't touched the book yet, but once again, it's 20 minutes or almost there. So I'm going to end this session now, but we will talk more. But you will find this, oh, wait. You're just rumbling on again and again. Well, that's exactly how this is going to go. Because we're talking, because the Chinese teaching always go with the analogy. So I'm going to put a lot of analogies on here, right? Hopefully that will help you to make some sense. So that's all for this session. Bye.